What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy TWZTED, and we're back with another Division video. On today's video, we will be discussing the changes that the developers have been talking about doing for 1.7. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll start off with some of the gear set piece changes they discussed. They went over 5 different gear sets and also mentioned Seekers and the Ninja Bike backpack. I would like to start with the Ninja Bike backpack because it sounds like an awesome change to the game and what you're going to be able to do with when making a build. I think it's going to be OP, honestly. So what they're talking about doing to it is making it a so-called wild card. What that means is, say you have 3-piece striker and 2-piece predator with the ninja bag on. The ninja bag will act like a gear set piece for both, meaning you would then have the 4-piece striker bonus and then the 3-piece predator bonus. So there will be so many options for builds, and I'm ready to see what people come out with. So you could even go as far as having 1 piece of 5 different gear sets and then run the ninja bag, and it will make it to where you will have 5 2-piece bonuses. That's just insane. That's why I say I think it's going to be OP, because there's going to be so many different options where to use it and so many different builds that people are going to be running now. So let's move on to the next thing. The next thing I would like to discuss is the dreaded seeker mines. I don't know about you, but I hate them with a passion. But developers did see how OP they could be and are making some changes to it. The first thing that they are doing is making a 60% decrease in the initial damage. So that means you'll be taking 60% less damage whenever they first hit you. And now when you use a med kit, it won't only get rid of the fire status, but it will give you a temporary immunity to the fire status. So you won't just waste a med kit and then catch right back on fire. You'll use a med kit and then you'll have a little bit of time to roll out of the fire before you catch back on fire, if that makes sense. There will still be a possibility to make one-shot seekers, they said, but it will be a lot more difficult to achieve. You'll have to go really in depth with a seeker mine build to make one-shot seekers. It won't be able to just happen like that. So that's it for seeker mines and the ninja bike backpack. That's all they said so far. And before we get into the 5 gear sets that they mentioned, I would like to go over the new classified gear sets, as they do tie into the old gear sets. Classified gear sets will still be 256, so there won't be any gear score changes. But what they allow is for you to be able to get 5 to 6 gear set bonuses instead of the 4 that you can get now. But say you want to run 6-piece final measure and get all 6 of the bonuses, then all 6 pieces must be classified gear set pieces. You can't have 2 classified final measure pieces, then the rest regular final measure, and expect to get the 6-piece bonus. Also, on these classified pieces, you'll be able to roll 2 attributes instead of just 1 like now. And your main attributes, say like firearms, stamina, electronics, it will start out at 1272, which is currently the highest you can roll to, and then it will be able to be rolled to 13 something. I don't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it was in the 1300s. I didn't hear anything about classified high-end pieces, so I'm thinking that might mean that high-end builds won't be the meta anymore, and they won't be as OP as they are now. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. Now onto the gear sets that they talked about, which is Sentry, Reclaimer, Deadeye, Lone Star, and Final Measure. They didn't say anything about the other ones yet, but let's talk about Sentry first. They said the 6-piece bonus will allow you to mark an enemy 6 times instead of 4. And any additional mark, so after you hit them 6 times in the head, if you get more marks on the head, then it will have a chance to spread to nearby targets. So like shrapnel for Predator, it'll be kind of like that, but for Sentry. They did say, if I heard correctly, that it will only work in PvE. So it seems like this will be a really good PvE build. It might work in PvP. I'm not 100% sure. I might have misunderstood what they said, but if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they said the 6 marks will only work for PvE. So far that's all they said about Sentry. So if you're a big farmer, I would go for a Sentry build. The next one on the list is Reclaimer. They didn't say much about it, but they did say is the 6-piece bonus will allow you to put your support station down and have an instant cooldown on your support station skill. So say you put your support station down, it'll automatically, as soon as it goes away, like say somebody blows it up or something, you'll have it right back. There won't be any cooldown that you have to wait for on it. So it'll be a really good support role, and I want to see some people use it. Now that's it for Reclaimer. On to Lone Star. They briefly mentioned this as well, and all they really said was a damage buff on the last bullet and higher RPM. So I want to see some LMG action now. I haven't really seen many LMGs used in the division lately, but I think some people will go back to it since it's getting a buff in damage. And I mean, you could just shoot for days with it now. And for Final Measure, they spoke a good bit about Final Measure, and it looks like the 6-piece bonus will give you 40% EDR right away. And now it will no longer defuse your own grenades or your teammate grenades, which will be nice. And also when you defuse an enemy's grenade, it will give you and your team a buff. Like an example they used was, say somebody throws a shock grenade at you and you're wearing Final Measure and you defuse it. So now when you defuse a shock grenade, you and your team will receive a skill power increase. And they mentioned some other grenades, but Incinerary, I think it was damage buff if I'm not mistaken. And I forgot what other grenade they mentioned, but that sounds pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. So if you have that, and then like a Reclaimer, and then like 2 DPS builds, well, I think you guys might be able to take over the Dark Zone. On the last gear set that they mentioned was Deadeye. I hate Deadeye, but it seems like they're going to make it more of a cover-based gear set. What that means is if you're in cover, you'll still be able to get the 100% crit, but if you're out of cover, you will only get 60%. And talking about Deadeye, they also mentioned changes to the SVD rifle, because a lot of people like to use that rifle with Deadeye, but they talked about changing the stability and accuracy to bring it closer to the M1A. I guess it's a little OP right now, so they're going to make a few changes to it, to the accuracy and stability on it, so I guess people can't just spam without any recoil. But that's it for the gear sets. Now we're going to move on to the new thing called global events. Global events will bring 3 classified gear sets, they said, in each global event, and it lasts a week if I'm not mistaken. And they did say on the first global event, the 3 gear sets that will be coming is Deadeye, Lone Star, and Final Measure. And they mentioned the second one as well. In the second global event, it will be Sentry, Striker, and Reclaimer. They also mentioned different tier caches, and what they're saying is the higher the tier the cache is, the more likely you'll get a classified gear piece. Also, they said the PTS will be available on console this time. I really hope that's true. That's what they said. They didn't say how to get access to it yet, but they did mention it. Also, they asked if we could try a little bit of everything. Don't just try the meta in the PTS. Let's give them some real feedback on this PTS so they can fix everything, and so whenever the 1.7 update comes, we can have a great game and try to bring it back and try to bring a lot of the players that quit the game back so we can have some fun once again. So try a little bit of everything and let's give them some feedback. Don't just use the meta like I said, because we need to give them feedback so they know what to change and what not to change. And that's the end of the video. I hope all of you enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments. If I can answer it, I will. If not, then I'll try to find the answer to it or wait till some more information comes out on it. But I hope all of you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you on the next one.